Okay, Rabotai, we are on Daf Chaf Tet Amud Bet. If you're following in the art scroll, we are on 29B2. Okay? And we just now discussed a machloket between Rav and Shemuel. If the week of laundering clothing in the week of Tisha B'Av is relevant also after. So in other words, let's say Tisha B'Av is on Tuesday. So Shavua Shechabo, the week that it falls out on, is Sunday and Monday. But as an example, it's also the week of Wednesday and Thursday. So do we say that the laws against washing clothing apply afterwards as well? And the Gemara said that Rav held, no, la'acharav mutar. Shemuel said, afil la'acharav nami asur, even afterwards is also asur. Now the Gemara asks a question on what we just said. Metvei, the Braita teaches us, Shabbat shechat Shabbat liot betocha, asur lesaper lechabes. When Shabbat falls during a specific week, okay, you're not allowed to take a haircut or to wash clothing during that week. Ubachamishi mutarim bnei kavod Shabbat. And on the Thursday, you're allowed because of kavod Shabbat. Ketzad. The Gemara says, okay, what does this clause mean that on Thursday you're allowed to because of kavod Shabbat? Chaliot be'echad b'Shabbat. If Shabbat falls out on Sunday, mutar lechabes kol Shabbat kula. You're allowed to wash clothes the whole week. Why? Because it's afterwards. Basheni, bashlishi, barevi'i, ubachamishi. What happens if it falls out on the second day, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday? Lefanav asur, la'acharav mutar. Before Tisha B'Av falls in the week, that's considered the week of, and that's asur. But afterwards, it's mutar. Chaliot be'erev Shabbat. But if it falls out on Friday, mutar lechabes b'chamishim b'nei kavod Shabbat. You're allowed to wash on Thursday because of kavod Shabbat, because of the honor of Shabbat, that you should be able to have clothing. V'imlochi bes b'chamishi b'Shabbat. And if you did not wash on the Thursday, mutar lechabes be'erev Shabbat min ha'mincha v'lema'ala. You're still allowed to wash it on Erev Shabbat from the period of Mincha and on, okay? Now, the Gemara says, hold up, 1 second. Let's just try and understand what we're talking about over here with regards to this Braita, okay? Lait ala Abaye, v'item Rav Aha bar Yaakov, aha. Abaye, according to some opinions, it was a different rabbi, Rabbi Aha bar Yaakov. He gave a curse. That's what lait means. He gave a curse to someone that launders, that does the laundry on the holiday, on the fast day itself, even if it's from Mincha and onward. So the Braita told you, if Tisha B'Av falls out on Friday, then you're allowed to do, if you have only one article of clothing, you're allowed to wash it on Thursday. You have nothing else. Bnei kavod Shabbat, okay? Because you're not going to be able to wash it on Friday, which is the fast day. You're not allowed to wash it on the days before, but I have no clothes to wear. So what am I going to do? I wash it on Thursday. The Gemara says, what if I forgot to wash it on Thursday? The Gemara answers, you're allowed to do it on Friday. Friday is the fast day itself. And the Gemara answers, that's as long as it's after Mincha, most of the day is already gone, right? So you're allowed to do it after Mincha. You're allowed to wash your clothing if you only have one article of clothing to be able to get ready, to be able to have it for Shabbat. And the Gemara says that Abaye gave a curse to someone that washes their clothing on Shabbat, even after Mincha, even though the Braita said it was mutar. Okay, the Gemara now continues with the Braita. Chaliot b'sheni b'chamishi, if Tisha B'Av falls out on either Monday or Thursday, korim shelosha maftir echad. You have three people read from the Torah, umaftir echad, and one of them reads the haftarah that we read on Tisha B'Av. Bashilishi b'revi, what if it falls out on Tuesday or Wednesday? So those are not days of normal Torah reading. Koreh echad umaftir echad. You get one person reading Torah and one person doing the haftarah, because you don't have the normal hayuv of three people of Monday and Thursday. Rabbi Yossi says no. Le'olam korin shelosha maftir echad. We always read 3 aliyot, whether Tisha B'Av is on a normal Torah reading day, i.e. Monday or Thursday, or if it's on a regular day of the week, you always read 3 aliyot, and then one for the Haftarah. Now, the Gemara goes back to its order of the day. Let's go back to the beginning of the Braita. The Braita says clearly that you are not allowed to wash before the holiday and that you are allowed to wash after the holiday. Tiyufta de Shmuel. This disproves what Shmuel said, that Shavua Shechal Bo is Asur even after Tish'a B'Av. Hamaylacha Shmuel. Shmuel will answer, no. I understand what you're saying. Tanaihi. But this is a machloket between Tanaim. I follow the other opinion, the other Tana, the other Mishnah. Titanya, because now Shmuel will bring a Braita that says that there's another, that seems to indicate there's another opinion. Titanya, the Braita teaches, Tish'a B'Av Shechal Liot B'Shabbat. You have Tish'a B'Av which falls on Shabbat. V'chen Erev Tish'a B'Av Shechal Liot B'Shabbat, or Erev Tish'a B'Av, which means that Tish'a B'Av is on Sunday. Ochel v'shoteh kol tzorko, eats, drinks whatever he needs. U'ma'aleh al shulchano afilu seudat shlomo. He puts on his table whatever he wants, even if it's like the seudat shlomo b'sha'ato. Shlomo b'sha'ato, why is it referencing Shlomo HaMelech in his time? Because the Gemara says that in the house of Shlomo there was no delicacy missing from his table throughout his kingdom. So he had every possible food you could eat was available at the Seudat Shlomo b'sha'ato. So therefore, the Braita is telling you that we don't have Tish'a B'Av, if you will, on Shabbat. So if Tish'a B'Av falls out on Shabbat, or if it falls out on Sunday, so you're going into Tish'a B'Av, Shabbat is completely normal. Eat, drink, be merry. Don't do anything different because Tish'a B'Av is either that day or tomorrow. The Braita says, "Ve'asur l'sapeh l'chabes mirosh chodesh v'ad Taanit." You're not allowed to wash or take a haircut mirosh chodesh, from the beginning of Rosh Chodesh until the Taanit. So now we just found in the Braita the opinion of the Ashkenazim that we start already not showering and washing clothing from Rosh Chodesh, beginning of the 9 days. Okay?
9 days.
Not the week of.
Oh.
Beginning of the 9 days.
Oh.
Divrei Rabbi Meir. These are opinions. This is the opinions of Rabbi Meir.
Oh. Oh.
Not the week of the Tish'a B'Av, from Rosh Chodesh Av.
Got it.
Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol HaChodesh Kulo Asur. The entire month of Av, you're not allowed to engage in any of these. So from the beginning of Av until the end of Av, no listaper, you can't take a haircut, you can't wash clothing, etc., etc.
It's only on Av, right?
The whole month of Av, not just in Tish'a B'Av. There's a different opinion. We don't hold like this. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, Eno asur ela otah Shabbat bilvad. The only thing it's asur is only that week itself. So Rabbi Meir says before Tish'a B'Av. Rabbi Yehuda says even after Tish'a B'Av, the whole month. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel also says that it's that week. That week. Now, I don't know why the Gemara was sure that Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel did not mean the week of, but before. I'm not sure why that's so clear to Shemuel. Unless the point is that there's no way to prove that that's not what he meant. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
All right. Either way, the point is that Shemuel has Tanaim that clearly say that even after Tish'a B'Av, you still have this Isur. So Shemuel says, you found me a Braita that says no. Hazak Baruch, I'll find you a Braita that says yes. So I hold like the other Tanaim. So it doesn't knock out the opinion of Shemuel. The Gemara now continues. It's another machloket. That's interesting. I wonder if that played out. Okay. Gemara now says, V'tanya idach. We learned in another Braita. V'noheg evel mirosh chodesh v'ad Taanit. And we practice avelut from Rosh Chodesh until the Taanit, until Tish'a B'Av. Divrei Rabbi Meir, this is what Meir says. Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol HaChodesh Kulo Asur. The whole month, we are in mourning, and all the things that are relevant to a mourner are relevant the entire month of Av. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, Eno Asur ela otah Shabbat bilvad. Again, the only time we have mourning is during that specific time alone. Okay? Now, what are we adding over here? We're adding other things that would be comparable, that would be in the parasha of a mourner, which are not listed earlier. So earlier we only talked about two things. We talked about cutting hair and we talked about doing laundry. But there are other things that are relevant for a mourner. So here the second Braita is telling you that these opinions are valid for all elements of mourning. Okay? Okay. Now let's understand where they're coming from. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, "V'shloshtan mikra echad darshu." Each one of them, they came from the same pasuk. Dichtiv, the pasuk says, "V'yishbati kol mesosa haga hadasha v'shabata." I will, v'yishbati means I will cause to end, cause to cease. Kol mesosa, all of her joy. Chaga, her holidays. Chodsha, her month. V'shabata, and her week. Okay, so you're already understanding where we're going with this. Let's turn the page. Lamed Amud Aleph, 30a1. Michaga, the first opinion learns, right? Michaga, the first opinion learns from it says from your holiday. Umanda Amar kol chodesh kulo asur michodsha. Sorry, did I skip a bit? I think I skipped a bit. Manda Amar Rosh Chodesh v'ad Taanit. The person that says from Rosh Chodesh until the Taanit, so from the beginning of the month until the Taanit, where did it learn that from? It learns it from Michaga, from the holiday. What is that referring to? It's referring to the holiday of Rosh Chodesh. So Hashem says, I'm taking away the joy of the holiday from Rosh Chodesh. Umanda Amar kol chodesh kula asur, holds the whole month as asur. He learns it from the pasuk. It says Michodsha. Hashem says, I'm going to take joy away from the month. So that's the whole month. That's the second opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, not Rabbi Meir. Third opinion, Manda Amar Kol Hashabat Kula. The opinion that holds that what's asur is joy during the week of Mishabata. He learns it from the pasuk, same pasuk that says that Hashem says, I'm going to end the joy from Shabbatah, from the week. Amar Rava says Halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Halacha is according to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel that the ideas of mourning are relevant only during the week of Tisha B'Av. Okay? Now, let's just be clear. Remember, we differentiated between the 9 days and the week of. Right? Remember that?
Yes.
The week of, we said, is a time of mourning. The month from Rosh Chodesh until the holiday, that is not a month of mourning, but Mishnichnas Adar Mima'atim B'Simcha. We have less joy. So we said, a person is decreasing joyous things, but they're not acting like a mourner, okay? They're not doing things that a mourner does. Mm-hmm. They're just not engaging in practices of joy. So things that bring a person a tremendous amount of joy, we don't do from Rosh Chodesh Av, okay? That's how we hold in the halakha today. But what are we seeing over here? That Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, he said that washing, cutting hair, mourning in the two different braitot. Each one of those braitot says, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says that only starts from the week of Tisha B'Av. So the idea that you would stop shaving from the beginning of the month is not here. Not only that, because this is the Gemara says, Halacha ki Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Not only that, and this is the strange thing, Ashkenazim have a minhag that they don't shave for the whole 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. Where's that coming from? So even though sometimes the Gemara says, Halacha ki Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, mm-hmm. The Shulchan Aruch, the Poskim will say, yeah, but the Gemara seems to end off in another place, that the Gemara over there held that there was a different answer, or there was a different halacha. So we have to decide which halacha that the Gemara dictates is actually the halacha that we follow. Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah.
When does the week before Tisha B'Av start? Is it like after Shabbat?
Yes.
So
let's say as an example,
Tisha B'Av is on Wednesday.
Tisha B'Av is on Wednesday.
Then only Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I can't launder and I can't cut my hair?
Correct. Okay? Ve'amar Rava. Rava says, no. Halacha ki Rabbi Meir. Halacha is like Rabbi Meir. What does Rabbi Meir hold? Right? Rabbi Meir was said already earlier. He holds from Rosh Chodesh. Mm-hmm. So you see over here, the Gemara has two opinions according to Rava. The first opinion is, Rava said, Halacha like Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, The second opinion is Va'amar Halacha Rabbi Meir. Halacha Rabbi Meir, which is that you do it from the beginning of the month. Gemara says V'tarvayu lekula, and both of these pskei halacha from Rava were lekula, were designed to be used to lean more lenient. Tzricha, and we needed both. If you told me the halacha is like Rabbi Meir, that you do morning from Rosh Chodesh, Hava amina afilu me Rosh Chodesh. I would have thought. Rabbi Meir says me Rosh Chodesh ad Taanit. Hava amina afilu me Rosh Chodesh. I would have thought that it even goes from Rosh Chodesh until Shabav. Kamash Malan. Halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel tells us halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel, which tells us that it's limited to the week of Shabav. V'yashmin al halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. And if I would tell you halacha is like Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, I would have thought havaminu afilu la'acharav. I would have thought even afterwards, because Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says that it's the week of, but it could really be like the week of even after on the other side of Shabav. Kamash Malan, where Rabbi Meir was saying halacha Rabbi Meir that it's from Rosh Chodesh till to Shabav and not after Shabav. Okay, so you understand what we just did? So we told you halacha like the halacha is like Rabbi Meir and the halacha is Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. What's it like? It's like both of them, and each one of them tells you how to hedge what you are learning. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel is the one that tells us when you're asur, from the week of Shabav until Shabav. So in that, halacha is not like Rabbi Meir. When is halacha like Rabbi Meir? Halacha is like Rabbi Meir to tell you that if I just would have told you Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, you would have not known, because he says the week of Shabav, like I said to you earlier. How did the Gemara know if it meant before or after? So it wasn't a tiyufta de Shmuel, because we could have explained it either way. Okay?
Yeah.
Or we could have followed the other opinion. But the point is, the first, the shita that says the whole month. But the point is that we learn from Rabbi Meir to tell you that Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel is not correct, or it would be incorrect to assume that he meant the week of after Shabav falls. So Shabav falls on a Tuesday, so the week of would be not just Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday, Thursday, it would only be Sunday, Monday. And how do we learn that? Because even though it says halacha is like Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, which means the week of Shabav, halacha is like Rabbi Meir, that it's only until Shabav, but not after Shabav. Okay.
So maybe the Ashkenazim with the 3 weeks cover these two?
No, because one
no.
says it's only the week of.
No?
And none of these opinions, none of them say before Rosh Chodesh Av. Right?
No, I understand. But it looks like they are doubling up. Like they are, like the two opinion already, like they are.
And we have not seen any opinion yet that says before Rosh Chodesh
Even,
Av. So we have the month of Av, we have Rosh Chodesh till Av, and we have the week of. Rosh Chodesh till Shabav, and we have the week of Shabav. We have zero opinions that say anything before Rosh Chodesh Av.
Okay.
So far. Okay? Erev Shabav, lo yochal adam bet tavshilim. In the evening, right before Shabav, so this is now referring to the eve of, right before you go into the fast. And we'll see exactly when this applies. A person's not allowed to eat bit tavshilin, 2 different types of cooked foods. Okay? So you can have 1 kind of cooked food, but not 2. Okay? Amar Rav Yehuda says, Lo shanu ela mishesh sha'ot v'lemala. The only time this person's not allowed to do this, eat these 2 foods, is from the 6th hour of the day and further. So in other words, from chatzot, from midday until the fast, you can't have 2 cooked foods. Aval mishesh sha'ot v'lemata mutar. However, but before 6 hours, so in other words, in the morning, there's no isur to have 2 different cooked foods at the same meal. This thing is only relevant when this idea of not having 2 cooked foods is only relevant in the final meal before the fast. So let's say you're after the 6-hour cutoff. So you're 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And now I'm going to have a late lunch, but I'm going to have a Sudan mafseket at 6 p.m., okay? So you're allowed to eat whatever you want for lunch. Because the idea of not having 2 cooked foods is in the last meal before Shabav. Now, if your last meal is at 2 p.m., then that's your last meal. That's your Sudan mafseket. Okay, ava b'seuda she'eno mafsik ba mutar. If you are going to eat another meal afterwards, then you're allowed to have whatever you want. Now, by the way, what do? We have whatever meal we're going to have, and then we have, at the end, we eat the bread with the egg, right? So if you make that your seuda mafseket, so the meal that you had before, it can be whatever you want, okay?
So do you say birkat hamazon before the last?
If you would have bread the first meal, you could either have it with bread and do that, or you could have it without bread. The Gemara says, okay, v'tarvayu lekula, and both opinions of Rabbi Yehuda are to be to the lenient side, okay, v'tzricha, and we need both. If it told you the final meal, I would have thought that even for breakfast, let's say I had my final meal before Shabbat at breakfast time, so I would have thought that's my seudah mafseket, so therefore I can't have two cooked foods at the meal. And if it would tell you, that that's only asur from what's it called? From 6 hours and on. If it told you from 6 hours and on, I would have thought, even if you're having a late lunch or even a dinner, but you're having another meal later, you're not allowed to. It comes to tell you that either one of these is a reason to be more lenient. Either before the cutoff point, even if it's your Suda Mafseket, or after the cutoff point, if it's not a Suda Mafseket. Now the Gemara brings a proof to these halachot. Tanya Lishnakama, let's bring a bright according to the Yehuda in his Lishnakama, in his first expression. Tanya Lishna Braita, and they have another Braita that expresses the halacha Rabbi Yehuda in his second ruling. Tanya Lishna Batra. We have what's the Braita of Lishna Batra? According to the second thing that he said, Hasued Erev Chabav, a person has a meal on the evening before Chabav. If he's going to have another meal, you could have even meat and drink wine, because it's not Suda Mafseket. If not, you can't have meat and wine. So therefore it says that if you're having a pre-meal before your final meal, then the restrictions of the final meal don't apply. Which ruling is that like? It's the second ruling of Rabbi Yehuda, where Rabbi Yehuda said that the only time you can't have two foods is if it's going to be Suda HaMafsik Ba. Tanya Lishnakama, but now we're going to bring a proof also to the first thing that Rabbi Yehuda said. A person can't eat two cooked foods. Also, he can't eat meat and drink wine. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, Yishaneh. No, you're allowed, but you just should change. There should be some element that indicates that you're doing things differently because of this meal. Okay, so you're allowed to have, but you have to do. There has to be a shinui, which drives home exactly that you're doing something differently because of Chabav is coming along. Amar Yehuda says, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? If he eats two, you should eat one. If you normally have 10 people, so you should have 5. If he was used to drinking 10 cups of wine, have 5 cups of wine. Okay, so clearly Rav Yehuda feels that the percentage of the change is a 50% decline in what you're having. Now, if the guy has 4 objects that he eats, 4 cooked foods at a meal, so here you should have 2, right? When did we say what we just said, that you have to cut down? Only after 6 hours. But earlier than Sheshaot, we don't say this law, and again that proves the first law of Rabbi Yehuda that we don't say the whole Erev Yom Tov, Erev Chabav. It's forbidden, but it's only after midday. Tanya Idach, we bring another Braita. Erev Chabav lo yochal adam shnei tavshilin, lo yochal basav lo yishteh yain. If a person Erev Chabav should not eat 2 cooked dishes, and he should not have meat and drink wine. That's what Rabbi Meir says. They should change how much you eat and have less meat and less wine. What does it mean that you should have less meat and wine? If he's used to eating the size of a litra, let me eat half. He's ready used to drink a log of wine. Let him have half of a log. But if he's not, usually doesn't have meat and wine at all, ever, okay, then he's not allowed, asur, then you're not allowed to because you can't, there's no way of decreasing because you have none anyway. Shimon ben Gamliel says, if he's used to eating radishes or maliach, some sort of salted fish or meat, what is the reason for these two things? A person would use them for, there was better good for digestion. You're allowed to do this at the end of the meal. And what's the reason? Because it's there as a as something which is helping digestion and not as part of the meal itself. Wow. Okay? Now the Gemara brings another element to this specific nikuda. Tanya idach, we have another braita, koshu mishum tisha b'av. Any meal that you eat because of Tisha B'av, asur lechol basar, asur lishtot. You're not allowed to drink, you're not allowed to eat meat. Asur lishtot, you can't drink wine. Asur lechotz, and you can't wash after that meal. Koshu enu mishum Tisha B'av. You have a meal that's not eaten because of Tisha B'av. Mutar lechol basar shtot. You're allowed to eat meat and drink wine. Asur lechotz, but still, you're not allowed to wash from that point on. Rabbi Yishmael says, the son of Rabbi Yossi, name of his father, Rabbi Yossi, no, we don't have this thing that the second opinion in the Braita brought, that if you have a meal because of Tisha B'av, you're allowed to eat meat. You have a meal which is not because of Tisha B'av, that you're allowed to eat meat and drink wine, and also allowed to wash. So instead, we taking one away. That was the first opinion. The second opinion says, in the Braita, no, those things go hand in hand, and we don't have, there's no time we'll have one without the other. Okay? So what's the real question over here? What is this idea of a meal that a person is having because of Tisha B'av? What does that mean? How do you understand that?
It's reframing. Basically, it's giving a guideline.
Yes, but which meal are we referring to here? A meal that we have because of Tisha B'av. What do those words mean?
The last meal.
Sorry?
Doesn't it refer to the safek?
Also, they're talking about the 6 hours, so they're talking about, they really give you a guideline.
So again, over here it's not giving you a time. So I just want to draw your attention to Rashi. Look, right in the middle of the page. Koshu mishum Tisha B'av. You see that right in the middle of the page, right here?
I don't know where that is.
On the left, on the right.
Right here?
Right.
On the right-hand side?
Koshu, yeah. You see bolded?
Yes.
Koshu enu mishum Tisha B'av. Kagon suda mafsik ba.
Yes.
Okay? Koshu enu mishum Tisha B'av. Kagon suda mafsik ba b'Taanit tzibur. Inam misuda she'enu mafsik ba. Okay, you understand?
Yes.
So if you have a meal which is eno mishum Tisha B'av, so in other words, not the Suda Mafseket, the meal before the Suda Mafseket.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So the Mishnah over here is this Braita is telling you, let's look at it again. If you have a meal, mishum Tisha B'av, so the Suda Mafseket, you can't drink meat, you can't drink wine and eat meat. You can't wash afterwards. Why? Because once you had that Suda, it's like you already accepted Tisha B'av.
Yeah.
Okay? If you have a meal which is eno mishum, if it's the meal before Tisha B'av, the Sudat HaMafseket, it's not because of Tisha B'av. Right. So then you're allowed to eat meat and drink wine, just like we said earlier. It's only by the Sudat HaMafseket. And the Gemara says, but you're not allowed to wash your hands.
Right.
Because in other words, even though it's not the meal Sudat HaMafseket, you're already kind of heading towards the fast day. But the Gemara, and Rabbi Yishmael says in the name of Rabbi Yossi, no. What's the difference? If I was allowed to eat meat and drink wine, this Seudah is not a Seudah Mafseket. Right. So ending this meal doesn't tell me that I'm getting to Tisha B'av. It just is the end of a meal that's going to undo Tisha B'av. Right. So the only thing that can cause me to not be able to wash is the Seudah Mafseket itself. Okay, let's do this last piece here, yes. and then we'll get to the end of Lamid Amud Aleph. The Braita says, Tanu Rabbanan, Kol mitzvot, any mitzvah, hanoagot be'avel, that are applied to a mourner, noagot b'Tisha B'av, they apply Tisha B'av. Asur ba'achila, u'b'shtiya, u'b'sicha, ובנעילת הסנדל בתשמיש המיטה. So therefore, a person can't eat or drink. They can't use oils to anoint themselves. They can't wear leather shoes, and they can't have intimacy on Shabbat. Now, hold up one second. Is that true? An Avel is not allowed to eat or drink?
No.
So why is it saying all these things, right? That everything a mourner can't do, a person can't do on Shabbat. And then it lists things nothing to do with the mourner. The answer is, it's telling you the things of a mourner. But once it started listing what you can't do, so we put in other things that are also not relevant to a mourner. Yeah. But the follow-up, so in other words, the Gemara says, anything a mourner is not allowed to do, you're not allowed to do in Shabbat. Okay. So what are you not allowed to do in Shabbat? Not allowed to eat, not allowed to drink. It started with the things that we already know, which have nothing to do with the mourner. But it's just giving you the full list.
Gotcha.
But all the rest of the things are because of and associated with the concept of mourning. You can't read anything, any part of Tanakh. Okay? You can't learn the Mishnah, you can't learn the Gemara, you can't learn the Midrash, you can't learn the Halachot, and you can't learn the Agadot, which is the stories of the Gemara. But you're allowed to read from the Tanakh from a place that you're not used to reading. Right? Mm-hmm. So what's the reason why you're not allowed to learn, you're not allowed to do this on Torah on Shabbat, as we're going to see in a minute? It's because it brings joy. But if you don't know what you're reading, so the person is trying to figure it out, he doesn't have that joy. Right. So you're allowed to read from Torah or Tanakh from a place that you don't usually read. You're allowed to learn something you don't usually learn. You're allowed to read kinot, which are the special poems that were compiled for Shabbat. Be'iyov, from a sefer called Yov, which has all of the suffering that Yov went through. And all other difficult things should be Yirmiyah that you find in Yirmiyah. Right? Because those things, of course, they're not going to bring a person to joy. They're all very, very sad. Right. But the children of the Bet Knes, of the Bet Sefer, they don't do anything. Because it says, Pikudeh Amunai Yisharim Mesamche Lev. The commandments of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mesamche Lev, they bring a person joy. So to learn about any of these things brings a person simcha, and that's inappropriate on Tisha B'Av. However, the question is, why would we say that the children, what's it called, are allowed to? The children, are not allowed to read anything. So we gave you things that you could read, but children, school children, they can't read. They can do anything. They have to remain idle. They're not allowed to do anything. Why are they not allowed to do anything? How come they can't read things that they don't normally read? So there's two different nuschot, there's two different opinions as to how the Gemara should actually read over here. One opinion is that it's not, the nusach that we have is not the correct nusach. It should say that the children should not be batel.
Like there's a word missing?
Yes. So in other words, v'tinokot shebet rabban lo enam betelim. So in other words, if you need to learn with them something in order that they should not be doing nothing, just learn whatever you want because they're just kids. Okay? That's one opinion. The other opinion is no, they must remain idle. Now, everyone must remain idle. So what must we mean, according to that opinion? It means that even the things that an adult's allowed to read, the children would not be allowed to read.
It's like negative of a negative.
Yeah, so there's...
It's positive.
So let's understand each understanding of that Gemara. If the Gemara is telling us that the children must remain idle, that they're not allowed to learn anything, including things that we're not allowed to learn, maybe the answer is because the child is not really that distressed over the difficult parts of Eov. He's looking at it just like a subject, and therefore he might have the enjoyment that an adult would not feel because it's a very difficult topic or subject. You know, so that would be if you're understanding that the children are not allowed to learn anything. If you learn the other way, that the children should not be left around doing nothing, so therefore they're allowed to do it, and the reason why they're allowed to learn things that otherwise they would not be allowed to learn is because we're making a special dispensation because the children, they can't just sit around and do nothing. It's going to be a destructive thing. So we allowed them to do something that otherwise would not be allowed. So we can understand it either side. Rabbi Yehuda now says, hold up, I don't understand. Yehuda omer, af ani koreh makom she'eno ragil lekrot. Af eno kore makom she'eno ragil likrot. You're not allowed to read something you didn't learn yet. Ve'eno shoneh makom she'eno ragil likrot. And you're not allowed to learn something that you don't know, or that what's it called, that you don't know, because still that's going to bring a person for simcha. But he's allowed to read all the difficult things that we find in these various places. And tinokot, the children that are sitting in school, they have to also remain doing nothing. So therefore they also have this thing. So what does Rabbi Yehuda amend? He says that if you're learning something that you never learned, still there's a joy in that, and therefore it's not mutar. And that's actually how we hold. You're not allowed to go and learn new things on Shabbat, because even new things can bring a person simcha. Baruch